Holy Temu ads and Taylor Swift Pentagon psyops. This is Flight Check, Season 4, Episode 4. We're back once again talking everything FlyQuest. From Valo to Counter-Strike, fighting games, and LCS. There's a whole heck of a lot that we've got to discuss with you tonight. And we will be with you every step of the way, discussing all of it. My name, as always, is Sandy Toes. And
you can actually show it on the jersey now.
Yeah, in the reverse. Knox and I with some fresh jerseys. Curly's still a season or two behind.
I'm stuck in Ohio, guys.
Yeah,
it takes a minute for
stuck
things
in
to get
Ohio,
here.
per usual.
I thought you were stuck in bronze.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the sign is on the bed, all right? Hold on. I've been meaning to hang it up today.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know you know who's not stuck with 2 Super Bowls? It's Patrick Mahomes. He's got 3 now, so...
It's a new era.
It's a new era in the NFL. A new dynasty.
How was y'all's Super Bowl? Just really fast. Let's get it out of the way.
Yeah, we'll get it out of the way. Went to a Super Bowl party that was, the theme was bring like a dip. So everyone just brought dips.
Actually, that sounds kind of fun, actually.
Well, it was fun, and then my stomach's really been acting up today, so I think I had too much dip, you know?
Got lost in the sauce, if you will.
Yeah, a little lost in the dip sauce. I didn't even drink very much. I had like 2 beers, you know, called it a night.
How responsible.
It's just all those different dips. Someone might like put a ghost pepper in a salsa that you didn't notice.
Well, someone did make, I will say, they made like a chicken tinga nacho dip, which was really good.
That sounds delightful.
But how about you fellas? What did you get up to last night?
My parents are renowned Super Bowl party throwers for the past half a decade, basically.
Right.
So it's become tradition. I just go up to their house, and they have all their neighbors over. They have all their friends over. I bring up some of my friends, and everyone just. The rule is bring some form of food, bring some form of drink, go to town. We play squares.
Nice.
We do prop bets. I lost a lot of money.
Oh boy.
I spent probably like $70 between squares and prop bets, and technically, actually, no, I did win some money back. So I think I only lost like $40 after everything that I spent. So it wasn't too bad.
That's not too bad.
It could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, it was just a fun time, and then I stayed up way too late, and then I woke up for work this morning. I was like, oh, I should have not stayed up so late.
Yeah.
Terrible decision making.
Tough scene. Curly, talk to us. How was your Super Bowl?
Well, I was very surprised that the NFL tried to compete with FlyQuest versus Immortals. Like, that's a bold choice. So I had to watch that first. And then I was reminded that the Super Bowl was in fact on. So I turned it on, saw a throwback to all the music that like I grew up with, even though I really shouldn't have, because like I was too young for Usher to be popular when I was going to school, but
Right.
he was still somehow at all of my freaking middle school dances and all that stuff. And then I was very pressed for the rest of the time. I didn't go to any big things. I actually finally had a nice, relaxing Sunday. Normally I play D&Ds and we just had a bye week. So I was just like, I'm gonna make sauce at home and I'm gonna relax. And it was a delightful day.
What kind of sauce are we talking about? Just like a tomato sauce?
I made a creamy tomato basil sauce. It was delightful. It was amazing. And then I played Civ all day with my roommate. It was
nice.
Awesome.
Civ 6.
Oh yeah. Civ 6.
Okay.
We got to the medieval era and still nothing happened, and we might finish the game in 2 months. Who knows?
Are you playing two different civs or like against each other? Okay, I was wondering.
We are
you collectively making decisions here?
Yeah. We are. Yes and no. He got a lot deeper into the game than when we first started playing years ago. So he makes a lot of decisions really quickly, whereas I have not as much as he does. Like he has 4 cities, I have a measly 2.
Okay.
Actually, I just found my 3rd. Like homeboy. Oh my god,
racing.
He's
ahead.
crazy.
Well, speaking of racing ahead, FlyQuest LCS. Racing ahead to the top
transitions,
of
Sandy,
the
are impeccable
league.
as always.
Hey, it's what you pay me for. Except I'm not paid. So, up to 7-2, with the big surprise that I feel like we have to touch on really quick. 100 Thieves in second place, 1 game behind.
Objects of Mirror may be closer than they appear.
Right. Are you guys worried about 100 Thieves?
No. No. Sorry. No.
Well, I mean, talk to me. Why not so worried about this?
I mean, like maybe in there because we still have one more match to play against them right in the regular season. Like I can absolutely see them taking a game off us. I think what they've shown is that at any point they can just they throw themselves at you, right?
Yeah.
If you're not prepped for it, you will lose because they're individually they're playing well, right? As a team, meh. Which is why when it comes to like best of 5s, if we run into them in a best of 5 scenario, I'm more than confident we can handle 3 games against them.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
But best of 1, like, yeah, they can skill check you. In which case, by all means, I can take a game off you, and that's fine.
Yeah. Curly, how about you?
I mean, for me, like I'm impressed. The fact that they're right behind us in the leaderboard is something very exciting, and and my totally unbiased power rankings the other week, I think I do have them top 3 now. I think I shot them up the board, so they're kind of staying in a place that I expect them to be. But I still think we're just going to have that edge on them when it comes to facing them. And then the biggest thing for myself is I just need to make sure the next time we face them, I don't talk shit on the org or their merch habits or anything, because it will give them the power to take us down, and I just don't want to do that.
Right.
So yeah. But other than that, no, like I do have a lot of respect for them, and if anything, like I think it would be very fun to see if we could face them in the finals, if they get that far.
Right.
Or even like if we're both the top 2 teams at the end of the split, and then we meet in, I guess that would be technically semifinals, whatever that. You know what part of the bracket I'm talking about.
Yeah. No,
You know,
I'm tracking. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
so it would be fun to face him in the postseason. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. A 1-1 week going up against Shopify Rebellion and Immortals. And Shopify Rebellion turned out to still be giant killers, even though they can't seem to beat any of the supposed weak teams in the LCS. However,
They are the epitome of blue shells.
yeah, this game felt like it just kind of got away from us very fast. The Shopify game. It went really bad in bot lane. They fell behind, and it kind of felt like the last time we lost to NRG, where it just fell behind really early in bot lane, and nothing could be done after that. Inspired tried to come down, save the day on that with his gank, but Zazel, great flash to block the Vi abilities. By the way, hats off to him.
Yeah, no, that flash
was clutch.
That is what a support being like, Mr. President, get down.
Right. Mr. B-Boy, get down. But to me, I feel like this was a game where ultimately I think we can kind of shrug it off. Jensen got focused very hard. Bot lane got focused very hard. I felt like Bwipo did okay up top. I didn't really have any complaints with him. But it felt like they just got ahead very fast and accelerated their lead quickly, and we just never really had a shot. Curly, what were your big takeaways from this matchup?
The two things is it felt like this was a let's see if we can cook match, because obviously the Smolder pick, big toss up, even though it like proved to be pretty decent down in the NICL. It's still very new, and you're not sure how it would fare on that stage. And for us, it didn't quite work out, especially because we got shut down so early. So maybe there's a world where if Masu and Busio don't get shut down early, if Inspired is able to finish that kill back onto B-Voy, maybe it would have worked out for us in the bot lane. But I think I wouldn't consider it a shrug it off one, though, because it's like, it's unexpected. And even if you are trying to cook, losing to a team that is literally on the other side of the standings is kind of not something you should shrug off, because you got to find out, okay, yes, they're blue shells. Yes, they've beaten some of the other predicted top teams, but what is it about us that allowed them to take advantage of us? What did we do wrong? And so that's one I would look at very critically, because it's a loss that I don't think you should have, even if you are trying to cook. And so I think, which you're right, like, we just got taken advantage of very early in the bot lane, and Jensen was just abused. And so we got to figure out, okay, how do we make sure other teams can't take advantage of us? Because those last week, that's what I was talking about, or Sean's points, is Jensen's on lock, our bot lane's on lock, and we all agreed on that. So if everyone else can see that, how can we keep that going, prevent this in the future? So I would look at it very critically, and I'm sure they did too.
Yeah, Knox, any response to that, and any takeaways yourself from the Shopify game?
I think generally my biggest takeaways are, and did you guys watch the pros segment with Bwipo, Insanity, and AP? Was it APA?
Yeah,
I have not.
That's actually going to be what I'm watching after we're done with this.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't spoil it too much for you two then. But Bwipo talks in there a little bit, and he's talked in other interviews too, so it's not like a huge spoiler. But for him, his mindset is very much on the side of, like, in NA, it is just better to scale up. It's better to just, like, because no one's punishing you, right? No one's pushing you. No one's going to try and end the game on you. So why not just take these late scaling rooms or champion matchups that, like, you can just scale in the late game, and then you pop up around the 25-minute mark, and then you can smash people, especially when your lanes are as good as they are. Because, I mean, so far, Jensen's been doing good in lane. Masu and Busio, I mean, kind of flippy, to be honest, because they'll lose a drop a kill or whatever, but then they'll get a kill back. Like, they're not losing consistently outside of that NRG match, right?
Right.
And so I think what my kind of issue is right now is, if at any point teams start really understanding to push FlyQuest in the early game, is Whippo going to be able to step up and actually start pushing his opponents earlier on as well? Because at that point, it can relieve pressure from other sides of the map. Like right now, don't get me wrong, like Whippo puts a lot of pressure on his opponents and usually like neutralizes them. I feel like though I could see Whippo actually go for kills and actually put his opponent into the dirt and just make him completely non-relevant, right?
Right.
I don't feel like that's currently happening. He just neutralizes them. He makes sure that that guy is just not going to be involved with the rest of the map at least until the 20-minute mark, and he's probably going to be a little bit behind Whippo, which is always good. Like that's a positive.
Right.
But I think I just want to see Whippo maybe start challenging himself in the regular season before he gets checked in playoffs, where it's like, okay, the other teams are going to turn it on now, and you may still be able to handle it, but the enemy team's junglers like stepping up too, and Jensen, Busio, and Masu aren't able to handle it, and Inspired's not able to keep up for whatever reason.
Right.
So stuff like that, I want to see Whippo just push a little harder, because I think it'll buy the rest of the squad so much more space and breathing room, which he himself talks about in pros. And so big promotion for pros. Go watch it if you can't. Awesome podcast. That's kind of my general takeaways after this match. Outside of the fact that I think Inspired just did not quite get the counter gank or get that level 1, or what was level 2, level 3, something like that.
Yeah, it was early.
It just didn't go our way, and at that point, it started spiraling out of control. Along with the fact that I just did not like the Blitzcrank pick. Did you guys like the Blitzcrank pick?
No, I didn't. I mean, for one, come on, you promised us Pike Busio, and
yeah, no.
Oh, the different hook.
I'm gonna blame Nuke Duck on that one.
You know, someone on Twitter, because they put it on the show, on the broadcast, said Blitzcrank is just robot Pike. But you know, at that point, I mean, you might as well just take Pike with the way this Blitzcrank turned out. You know, it was not, it was just not really working out. Yeah, I didn't like the Blitzcrank.
I'd say the hook distance from Pike and Blitzcrank is also very different. Like if you hook a Q3 Aatrox as Pike, you're not going to put him right on top of your ADC.
Yeah.
Unlike what happened on Saturday.
Right. And I mean, just looking at the draft in general, I'm pulling it up, but I do want to discuss the Smolder pick. This was obviously not the first. We were not the first team in LCS to pull it out. Dignitas had just one on it, you know, right before us. But then, I think Jan then played it the next day, if I'm not mistaken. No, he played us, and I don't know why I thought Jan played it.
No, Tomo did play it.
I know Tomo did. For some reason, I thought Jan played the Smolder as well this weekend. But Tomo played it, and you know, they basically went similar paths. You know, Essence Reaver, Rapid Fire Cannon. And, you know, I don't purport to know a lot about the build, but, you know, Azael was talking a lot about the, you know, the build
He said he doesn't like it.
And, you know, Azael, you know, was talking a lot about how there's other build paths that he thinks are more correct. I forget exactly what he was saying. But, you know, besides Masu getting behind early on this champ, it just didn't feel like he was piloting it too well. Add on to the fact that he only got whatever it is, the 225 stacks that you need to really start pumping out the damage, you know, around that 22, 25 minute mark. And at that point, it was basically too late, you know, for him to be doing much of anything at all. Inspired was basically a non-factor at that point. Blippo was kind of there on the Cassante. Jensen had a few decent kills, but B-Voy was just so far ahead. Boogie was so far ahead on this Wukong.
Yeah, Shopify kind of cooked with the Wukong pick, actually.
Yeah.
That was a really good pick.
It was a good pick. And it panned out really well on that top lane play where we went the 5 for 2 under tower, and they just ended up turning it around. That was embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, that play for me, I was a little frustrated with because it felt like a big gamble, but they hesitated too long to pull the trigger. Like they showed their hand a bit too quick and gave Shopify enough time to reposition and like come back and take away any like equalizing that we might have been able to do through that, you know?
Yeah, Knox, what were your thoughts on that top lane play?
The top lane play, I mean, could it have been executed better? Absolutely, right?
Hmm.
They probably needed to move a little quicker, just like go, 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 go. I get in the moment it's stressful, but I'm glad they went for it though, because the game was starting to slowly slip out of their hands, right?
Mm.
I think it was like 7-0 in kills, or maybe 5-0, something like that. But
Hmm.
they needed a golden flux. They needed to get those bounties so they could pad their pockets a little bit and get some items going, and that would have actually probably stabilized the game a fair amount, right? If they'd actually
Right.
been able to sneak out of there.
Yeah.
So I think overall it was the right call. I just don't think the execution was there, and they were probably a little too hesitant.
Hmm.
Partially because I think they thought they were weaker, and so it was like, okay, we may need to play it a little bit slower to secure the kills. Um, it is. I'm not really overly upset about the actual top lane play. I think at the end of the day, it was the smart call to do.
Gotcha. Uh, yeah, Knox, you said also that you felt Shopify kind of cooked with this Wukong pick. I
Yeah.
mean, talk to me about it. What were your, why was this so difficult for us to deal with?
So running down the drafts like super fast, right? We first picked Smolder, which cool, right? And then they first pick Oriana. Then we follow up with Azir and I'm reading it wrong. Basically, so it's Oriana, Zaya, Rakan, right? And then we third pick the Blitzcrank, which throws me like way off. That's just like, especially with jungle options still open, you have a lot of different engage options. Blitzcrank's not great into engage junglers, in my opinion. It's great for like something, say like a Kindred or a Brand or other ranged junglers that aren't going to be all inning, or even sometimes tanks. Like tanks can be okay too, but generally bruiser junglers, I don't like having a Blitzcrank, and so that early Blitzcrank pick just like threw me off. And so the Wukong comes in, and we already have Vi as well, where Vi is just a super early game. Like you gotta win. Like you have to slam the early game. You have to get going. You have to get rolling. If you don't, I mean, you look at Inspired's KDA, right? He went 0-4-2. Like Vi's just completely fall off the map if they don't get the gold going. And for me, Wukong is pretty much always relevant if they can survive like the first like 10 minutes. So in general, that's kind of my thoughts on draft. Is I just that Wukong was just so smart, because you don't really see it a lot in the meta nowadays, right? It's a little niche. So no, I think it was just a genius pick.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it really countered what we were trying to do pretty well. The other issue I had with this draft, and Curly, you can chime in here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have a couple forms of engage, right? Obviously, you've got Inspired, even on the Vi. You've got the Cassante, even the Azir ulti, and, obviously the hook from Busio's Blitzcrank. But there's almost no peel or disengage from this comp. It's really only the Azir ulti.
Yeah.
It's basically all in, blow them up. Um, in many ways, and there's no escape. Where do you feel like this draft could have been improved? Like in the support area, um,
I
maybe
think
different
the
jungler.
biggest. I think support and jungle are the big areas where you would want to swap out, because it just kind of didn't work out for us. Like,
Hmm.
if you look on a lot of websites for supports that have higher win rates with Smolder, another one of them is Braum, which I don't think Braum is exactly what's good for the LCS right now, but
I
in
know
the
we
fact
played
that,
Braum in NACL this weekend, so
yeah. And so the Braum there to me would be able to provide some more escape and protection, especially with just like the, you know, 2/3 of his basic abilities are meant to protect. He puts himself in the way and he puts up a shield. There's that. And then, like, if we need to engage on a really good fight where they're lined up, bam, hit him with the ult. Or if you
yeah,
need to get away from a fight, disrupt them with the ult. Those are the
right.
two things that I think like he could have provided. And with the jungler, like, I do see what they were probably going for with the Vi, especially because it could have saved us. In the bot lane if it weren't for that Hazel Flash. Like, it
Yeah,
really just does come down to that support sense. Um, but I'm sure there's a few other, like, you know, high tempo junglers out there that just might be able to create better situations. Like
Mhm.
maybe you play the Xin Zhao so you can isolate people by ulting everyone else away, kind of disrupt them a little bit more, you know?
Right.
There's a few other options.
Yeah. No, totally. Um, yeah. So a tough loss here. Obviously, not the end of the world. Still, a decent amount of season to go after this game, and thankfully, bounced right back the next day with a solid win over Immortals in 31 and a half minutes. This draft felt a lot more comfortable. Um, Solid bot lane in the Callista Renata into the very unorthodox, but I guess maybe it'll grow in popularity. The Twisted Fate ADC and Maokai bot lane. Um, and
That was a choice.
that yeah, and it 1, 5, and 6 really panned out well. Um, Inspired on his classic Viego, Whippo on a solid
Mm-hmm.
champ and Udyr, and Jensen on the Azir. Um, I thought this draft felt a lot more comfortable. I'm about to sneeze, so Knox, talk to me about why you think this draft. And now that I say that, it's going
It's
away.
gone. It's
Yeah,
gone.
it's gone.
You have to talk about it. It's gone.
I
All I have-
cursed the sneeze out of. I like podcaster cursed the
you-
sneeze.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Oh my goodness.
but Knox, I still want you to talk to me about this draft. What do you like about this draft, like in comparison to the Saturday one? Like what makes you feel better about this one?
Uh, One, I think in general, just Callista Renata Glass as a bot lane is just it. Not only is it meta right now, it's just solid. So for me, it's just a stable bot lane is always good to see. And then I mean, Azir is on, or Azir Jensen is on Azir. That's how much he plays the dang champ. Is I'm calling him Azir now. But no, Jensen's on Azir, which is another one of his stables champs. Again, he's a Azir Oriana merchant, so of course he's on comfort. And then you save Udyr and Viego for like last picks for Inspired and Whippo. Basically, just kind of making sure that the two guys that probably have the most agency in the game can get champions that they feel comfortable with and can maneuver around the best way they want to, right? And so I think in general, I mean, it's cool that Immortals pulled out Twisted Fate 80 carry. I don't think they really turned the heat on the stove, though. It did not cook. It didn't really get to do all that much, and so it really just allowed Whippo to completely like check Castle. Castle didn't really have much to do. Kind of everything I was saying earlier about Whippo, about how he just makes sure he neutralizes his opponent, right? And so Castle was not really a factor. Armeo had some good stuff in the early game, but it didn't really matter too much. Inspire got to farm up and just kind of start ripping from there. And then the team fights came in, and because everyone knows how to play this comp, it's a very standard comp for FlyQuest. There's no unknowns. There's no crazy things that you have to consider. No weird combos. Just here's how the comp plays. Play it, and then it plays itself basically. And so, really, this game was on Immortals to try and do something to switch things up, and that's kind of what the Twisted Fate was, and it did not do anything. So that's all it is. I wouldn't say this was a great learning game for FlyQuest if you're looking for any development or anything, but if you wanted just a quick win on the board, there you go. That comp right there does the trick.
Yeah, taking care
yeah.
of business for sure. Curly, Whippo's on Udyr here, and Knox kind of mentioned it a little bit, but talking about neutralizing the opponent. Did you see in one of those Baron fights, Whippo just soloing out Armeo and just preventing him from getting in?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It was
Keeping him
beautiful.
from getting to the pit whatsoever and making
Talk
it a
about
4v4
gatekeeping.
on the other side. I thought that was fantastic. Talk to me a little bit about Whippo on the Udyr this game.
I mean, he did just kind of he played a very standard game. I'd say this is just what you expect from this team, and then especially from him. Like he just did Udyr things, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, really, because Udyr is a big disruptor because of his all the stance dancing and all that stuff. The fact that
Right.
you can get it shield, sustain, move at 1,000 miles an hour, keep a lock on everyone, and if you decide you want to disengage, you're gone and they can't chase you. It's just like he did Udyr things. He was a big disruptor, big shutdown guy, and really kind of a big turnaround from his showing on the Gasante the day before, you know, because
Totally.
was not able to express his prowess on it.
No, not so much. But thankfully, he did show up that day. One final question on this week 4, especially this game. 2 quadra kills, one for Jensen, one for Inspired. You know, we don't really have a lot of drama to talk about this team, so I'm going to start some.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you guys think that there's like some beef between the players now that, you know, we had 2 quadras and, you know, some pentas taken away from these guys? I mean, you know.
Well, I heard that Bwipo is in fact being reported by Inspired. I'm sure there's an HR discussion happening right now. Like, hey man, when you see your Viego jungle get the quad, you just need to give it to him.
Right.
Why didn't you give it to him? So as much fun as we've been having with Bwipo on the top, I've heard Surdy is actually going to be playing.
Whoa!
Potentially when we come back.
Breaking news, yeah.
Obviously a meme. But also it'd be like, hey, what if we did give an NACL guy a shot? I think we're already almost locked into playoffs by math.
Yes,
it's
I think
hard to do it. It's a very because it's only 14 games now. It's so much harder to do it.
Yeah, if there was any week to do it, it would have to be the next one. But then, and I was just going to bring this up, I don't think you would want to, and we're not going to do predictions this week. We'll save it for a couple weeks from now. But when the LCS resumes on March 2nd, by the way, 18 days from now. So long.
A while.
Cloud9 and then 100 Thieves. So
no. Yeah, I want the main team for this week.
Yeah, the second place team and then tied for 4th, but also it's Cloud9 who came back with a 1-1 week. So yeah, maybe not the week to do a little bit of a promotion roster swap.
The other thing to consider is that also the only person that's currently in LA right now is Quad. Like everyone else, you would have to fly out. So it's probably got to take a little prep and forehand knowledge, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
But this is a big hypothetical.
Oh, absolutely.
Crazy hypothetical.
Of course. The most hypothetical. All right. Well, that's going to be LCS Week 4. Not a ton to talk about. Any big surprises from you guys? We already kind of touched on 100 Thieves a little bit. Cloud9
Dignitas 2-0 is kind of huge, I think.
Yeah, Dignitas 2-0. Cloud9
is looking better
with the bounce back. It felt like on Saturday before falling to 100 Thieves in a crazy game. I still have not watched that game, but I heard it was nutty.
Oh my god, dude! Here's the thing. That's while I was playing Civ like with my roommate, like I said, and like after every turn, I looked back over. And the kills just racked up.
Oh my god!
It just kept going. Like when I looked at it at one point, I think it was like maybe a few kills on either side, and then it was 17-7.
Yeah,
I'm like, what happened?
Right?
How did you die 8 more? Like it just went nuts, and then it got even higher.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Like they were
crazy.
I think the other thing that's really crazy to me is how tight the race really still is.
Yeah,
like there's not anyone solidly locked out of playoffs. Normally by like this half of the season, you're getting to that where it's like if they lose one more game, they cannot make it. But like everyone is still fairly close because there's just there is no more than a 1 game difference between any position.
Well, the most that can happen in week 5 would be we lock playoffs, I believe, because all we need would be to win 1 game and both Immortals and Shopify go 0-2, or we go 2-0, and they each go 1-1. So, and that's like the most that can happen. I think 100 Thieves could also win 2 games and maybe lock playoffs. But that's about it. Immortals and Shopify will not be eliminated next week. Even if they go 0-2, I believe. That is actually it's impossible because they play each other. So one of them will win a game. So all the eliminations and playoff securing will happen in the week 6 Super Week, which is kind of crazy.
The final.
I think there's a high likelihood, like based on the way this season has been going, that Sunday broadcast is going to be one of the longest things ever. Like if they
better move the start
have
time back
enough,
to 3 p.m.
I don't even know, man. I'd get the teams in there at 10 a.m. if I'm planning like a
Right.
potential of like, because right now we still have a 3-way tie for fourth.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, maybe not as many tiebreakers, but like everything has been very up and down. You could have a world where like there is a 6-way tie. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You just got to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Knox, really briefly, you mentioned Dignitas's 2-0. Yes, surprisingly, with the 4-5 coming out of week 4, looking better. And I was watching them, and I was like, I don't hate this team. This is actually a kind of
what a rare statement for Dignitas. I don't hate your org right now.
Yeah, kind of an interesting team to look at, Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on Dig?
What's so funny is like they purposely kept Rich, right? And like everyone else is new. XU's new, Dub is new, Tomo. I guess technically they kept Tomo too, but
Yeah.
he was on the newer end, right? And then they brought Isles on, and so, but a lot of this team was built around Rich, right? And in my opinion, he's probably like the worst performing member of that squad. Everyone else is actually doing pretty good, I think. Like the bot lane's like solid. Dub has been okay. I think XU for being his first split in LCS. I granted I had terrible expectations for XU. I love the kid and I really hope nothing but success for him because he has such an awesome story. But I did not think he was going to be good, and he's actually doing really great. I'm actually really happy with how he's doing. And so all of that combined is just like, wow, all these new guys are doing great, and we built the team around you, Rich, and you're probably like the second worst top laner in LCS right now. What's going on? You need to step it up a little bit. Maybe you'll actually have more than a 500 record. So, no, I just love seeing the improvement because a lot of the guys I care about, Tomo and XU mainly, are actually doing quite well. So I hope to see them keep it up.
Yeah, I think they're going to be an interesting team to watch coming into weeks 5 and 6. I have a feeling that they'll secure playoffs, so it'll be interesting to see where they finish, if it's in the top 4 or if they're starting in lower bracket, but I think it'll be interesting. Speaking of things that are not taking breaks, NACL continuing strong, and that'll be the bulk of our League of Legends coverage over the next couple of weeks. FlyQuest Challengers pulling out by the what's the phrase on the skin of their
Skin of their teeth.
Skin of their teeth. Thank you. Yes, skin of their teeth.
Okay.
A 2-1 victory over Wildcard Gaming, and this one was a wild back and forth. Game 1 went up insanely early. The kills at one point, it was 21-10 FlyQuest Challengers. And we almost threw the whole game. And then Game 2 had this like unlucky level 1 where we face-checked a bush and they get like 2 kills, and they just basically rolled us from there on. And then Game 3, it was basically a quintessential solid FlyQuest Challengers performance, and we ended up winning that one 2-1. We went up early and steamrolled the game. But a weird series all around. Lots of interesting champs played. Nox, how much were you able to catch of this one? Because this was a fascinating series.
I did VOD review it. I did not look at how draft went.
Yeah.
I did VOD review it, yeah. And so everything you said is absolutely 100% correct.
Yeah.
Although game 2, I wouldn't liken it so much to the level 1 flip, although that hurt really, really badly.
It certainly didn't help. I'll put.
No, it did not. But honestly, it kind of just turned into NA RAM towards the end of it. Like everyone, like they just kept going back to the mid lane and just trying to like start fights with each other. And it just was like, can someone go side lane? Can someone go like invade jungle a little bit? Why are we just 5v5ing in mid? Like FlyQuest comp with an Ashe, AD carry, and Syndra mid lane does not have the damage to nuke down this really freaking tanky Cassante. It's just not gonna happen. So that was kind of annoying. I wish someone would have just like paused the game, like smacked each other around, so let someone take a side lane, go force them in. But it is what it is. So, yeah, no, I think other than that, FlyQuest continues to struggle a little bit with some mid-game decision-making in terms of, like, being able to push their leads and, like, really, truly just end the game. But the firepower on this team between Surdy and Shaden is just ridiculous. And Quad has not been bad himself either.
I think Quad has actually been sneaky very good.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I'll tell you what,
he's been
I
very
have
impressive.
no idea.
Looking
I
at
have
these
no.
score lines, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have no idea what Hui does, but my God, Quad played very well on Hui.
He does 12 things.
I know.
or 10 things.
I could never tell you what Hui does, but like, man, he piloted that champ really well. Yeah, game 2, yeah, just an unfortunate one. And then thought it was interesting. Both games 2 and 3, Wildcard banned out the Smolder from us. Both like literally first ban. And they're in their bans in both those games. Some like the game 3 especially banned out the Smolder and the Varus, which basically left us with only being able to take the
and the Kai'Sa.
The Misfortune, which the Misfortune pick I thought was really fun.
Misfortune is actually pretty strong right now. I'm very surprised more teams around the world aren't playing it more.
Yeah, and the Wombo combo of the Rel ulti into Misfortune ulti. Also, there were a couple of Gnar ultis into Misfortune ulti. Woo!
There were some nice wombos. There were some good
wombos.
Most of this comp is like, hey, Sasha, wait for us and then press R. Because you got Blitzcrank, you got Gnar,
ulti,
you got
Blitz hook,
you got Rel
ulti.
Hell, you can even like scoop with an Emperor's Divide into like, hey, you're stuck in this area.
Right, yeah. No, this comp was very fun, and I thought they executed it very well. So a solid week 4 for them, another 2-1. However, now tied with Maryville University, who 2-0'd both Disguised and Mirage Alliance this weekend to even themselves up with FlyQuest Challengers, starting to look like the number 1 challenger, if you will, to FlyQuest. And that's an interesting team because it's got 2 old FlyQuest Challengers members on it in Yuji and Spirax.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that matchup.
That matchup is going to be week 6, so we've got a couple weeks to go.
I'm going to call that a grudge match.
That's going to be a good one. Next week, however, we play against Lit Esports, and because we don't have, what's it called? LCS. We are going to do predictions. That's not it right there. Let me hide that. We are going to do predictions for NALCS. Let me bring that up.
Let's see. Did I space this out correctly?
Oh, it looks fine to me. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it.
So I'm calling the 2-0 over Lit Esports next week. This is a team that 2-2 in series, 5-5 overall. They lost to Cincinnati Fear and Supernova, which are both teams ahead of them in the standings. And then they beat Mirage Alliance and Wildcard, interestingly enough. Mirage Alliance famously only having won their first series this past weekend, sitting at 1-5. And Wildcard, as we just discussed, FlyQuest took them down on Saturday. I've got the 2-0. I feel confident that we're going to bounce back and deliver a strong performance. Knox, we talked a little bit about this beforehand, before the show. You've only got the 2-1. Talk to me about the 2-1. What are your concerns with this series?
I think Lit just has kind of this coin flippiness to them a little bit. Like Dragoon will 100% be one of the people I think can really just flip something against Surdy. Like, and we saw like Surdy have a happy game just this past week, right? Where he was literally like 0-10, or 1-10, I think. So I think Dragoon is someone who, while maybe not consistently, can force Surdy to have a game like that. And then on top of the fact that I like am just not a fan of FlyQuest's mid game, like objective decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see, because Lit Esports, by the way, for people who aren't really truly aware, is this is one of the teams that actually pretty much stayed completely the same coming into the NACL. Like they have a lot of synergy, and so
Right.
they may not have all the firepower in the world, but they're typically pretty good at being able to make a decision, say, hey, this is what we want to go do. And so for that reason alone, I could see a world where like game 1 or game 2, whichever it may be, maybe Fly gets out macroed a little bit. They get picked on something. I'm not sure. I just think Lit's good enough to be able to take a game off of this FlyQuest Challenger squad. But at the end of the day, the firepower is just so freaking good on this Challenger squad that it just doesn't matter. It will be a FlyQuest win.
Yeah, I do agree with you on the ultimately aspect. Curly, you did chime in with a 2-1. What was your reasoning behind this?
So just like from the chatter that's been making it my way is like Fly Challengers has been a little bit messy in their wins in the past couple weeks. In fact, the fact that both weeks I've seen, wow, this game should not have been won by us, like has me a bit concerned. Like I still am very confident in the squad, but like we're showing signs of like potential weaknesses. And I think with if you look at Lit's scoreline, their 50-50 is like pretty decent. Like they're 1-2 and 2-1. I believe they lost 1-2 to Wildcard, which is who we just faced. And so it's just like kind of the circle of power of like this person's greater than this person is greater than this person. Like where do we fall in that? And so I also like think the fact that Sajed is going to be playing against some of his own teammates. I always personally think it's like, all right, when you play against someone you used to be on a team with, and there's more of you than there is him, you might shut him down a little bit more. And this is a very, to me, a bot lane heavy meta. So if he's not able to pop off because of that, could make it harder for us to play the game. But I still think overall we're going to come out on top. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll definitely be a good series. That one, I believe, is on Saturday. So be sure to tune in for that one. It's going to be a good one, and it'll be your only way to see any kind of professional North American League of Legends for the next couple weeks. Besides, I guess,
domestic
those
league.
NACL spring qualifiers, which are still going on basically behind closed doors, unfortunately. I do believe semifinals and finals are this weekend.
You got to ask your dealer for a stream. Like,
yeah. You got to like be like, hey, buddy, do you know a guy? And they tell you, yeah, I know a guy. All right, let's move on. That's all the LCS we've got time for today, unfortunately. But now, we are devoting the rest of our time to all the crazy number of FlyQuest divestments that are going on right now. And first one we've got to talk about, FlyQuest Red, Valorant, just qualified for the first series in Game Changers 2024. Unfortunately, not because they won a grand finals of either of the closed qualifiers, but mainly because they were number one in points after all was said and done. However, they did, I have to note that they made grand finals both times in both qualifiers, lost first to Shopify Rebellion, and then over the weekend lost to Passion Project. That was on Saturday night. And that one was a heartbreaker. Lost the first map, 13-11. Looked a lot stronger on Icebox. Went up really far, actually. They were up 9-3 at the half. Then Passion Project started clawing it back, managed to sneak out the 13-9. And then things got really interesting because Bind, map 3, went all the way to OT, and then it kind of just kept on going. This game ended up being 20-18 in favor of Passion Project, who, and FlyQuest needs a lot of credit on this one because they went down 7-5 at the half. Then Passion Project went up first 2 rounds, 9-5. FlyQuest claws it back to 9-9. Then Passion Project up 11-9. Then FlyQuest brings it to match point and goes 12-11. And at this point, it really felt like it was all over. But Double P managed to make it an OT for the ages. And these teams basically just went back and forth. FlyQuest had 2 match points of their own, in addition to the third one I had already mentioned above. And tough, heartbreaking loss. Obviously, you want to win the qualifier, ultimately. Still have to be very thankful and grateful for the point system. Number one in points. Number one in points and number one in our hearts. That is for sure.
Yes, sir.
And some of the other teams that qualified, these are names that are going to be familiar for sure. Obviously, Shopify Rebellion and Passion Project, who won the qualifiers. But then a couple other teams that FlyQuest did play, including Miso's Cuties, The Boys. A couple teams they did not play, YFPX and Infinity X. I also believe the Supernova Galaxy team should be qualifying in as the final team on points because Passion Project qualified, so it removes them from the standings, and Supernova should be slotting right on in. But this was a great series. Great to see them starting out so strong. They had other good ones. They beat the Boys 2-0. Had a really tight one with Supernova Galaxy, where that one had a couple really close ones. They went to OT on Ascent, 15-13. They got blown out on Lotus 13-6 and then scraped through on Sunset. This was how crazy this map was on Sunset versus Supernova Galaxy. 9-3 at the half. FlyQuest is up. They had been on attack the whole time. They had been on attack. They switch over to defense, and things kind of fall apart. Supernova not only wins pistol, then proceeds to win the next 5 rounds. And it goes back to the 9-9. FlyQuest manages to pick up 2, and then they trade rounds back and forth until it's 11-12, and FlyQuest manages to get that final round, sneaking it out, and basically barely making their way out of quarterfinals. I think they still would have qualified based on points, so no big deal at the end of the day. But it could have been really bad, unfortunately. Then looked a lot better versus the Boys, 13-9 and 13-8 on Split and Ascent, respectively. And then, as we talked about, versus Passion Project, losing 2-1. I was not able to... I skimmed through, or I was able to watch or catch in some VOD review of most of these maps. I can't say that anyone really stood out to me too much. I will say Dodo looked really, really solid in the grand final. Looked really, really good there. And also, again, looking really good versus the Boys and versus Supernova Galaxy. Dodo, in my opinion, probably the MVP of the team for this tournament. She looked really, really phenomenal. if I need to find out if and when she streams, because that is somebody that you have to be tuning into if she is online on the server streaming it up, because just some absolutely stellar gameplay all around. Curly, I think you were able to catch some of this tournament. If you
Yeah, I
were,
was able to watch some of it.
yeah, what were your big thoughts and takeaways from this tournament?
Something I really like about this team, which you can kind of see from the score lines in the story you just told, is I think they're actually really good under pressure. Like they got a decent amount of thrifties, whether it was on attack or defense. And then I think they're also really creative at reassessing situations, whether it's in round or when they have to call a timeout between rounds, because particularly with the one I was able to watch the most was Ascent versus Passion Project.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they lost that, they had a really good comeback moment when they were on the attack side where they took a quick timeout, rethought their strat, and they were able to come out like swinging. And they just are very adaptable, and I'm sure that they'll be able to work on more as they have time for the main event of Game Changers. And so I think the strategy of this team is just very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing is, like, to me, it doesn't seem like, oh, you've got one or two people propping the whole team up. Everyone is capable. Everyone has their shining moments, you know? I was like, there's 2 rounds, I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's great at reacting and flicking heads. And then the next round's like, oh my gosh, so is this player. It's like, you know, they all kind of support their own weight. So I'm sure that with just a little bit more time, and you know, I have full faith that they
Mm-hmm.
can go really far. You made it to grand finals twice. Just get to the third one and win out the last one, and you got
Yeah.
and suddenly you're winning Game Changers.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally. A couple stats that I do want to pull up. Just like some things that I have noticed just in watching, but I do have the stats to also back me up. Um, Area of improvement, I think, that really needs to uh, take a step up is pistol rounds. Um, Lost 4 of 6 to Supernova. Lost 3 of 4 to the boys, and lost 4 of 6 to Passion Project. So pistols, not Fly Red's strong suit, and you know those are rounds that count just as much as map point rounds count. You know,
mm-hmm.
What's interesting is that, you know, as I look at some of these stats, we do really well in full buy rounds. Um, just clearly outpacing other teams when it's full buy. But ecos and semi buys are a bit more semi ecos and semi buys, bit more of a struggle for this team, and need to be able to execute in those lower economy rounds than when we're able to do the full buy. You have to be able to play well across the board, no matter what kind of buy you're coming out with. So that's kind of like the point of impact that I'm going to be looking at as we head into Game Changers, which is about a month away, March 6th through 10. So they've got a nice break to work on all of that stuff. But that'll be the key thing that I'm looking for when we come back in March. Excuse me, for Game Changers. Knox or Curly, any thoughts? Knox, I know you didn't have a chance to watch this, but any thoughts from you or Curly on Fly Red Valo heading into Game Changers next month?
My general, like I said, unfortunately, I haven't had time to watch any of the Fly Red games this past week. But I think in general, the fact that they're consistently making grand finals and they've qualified points wise, seeding wise for, like, I think it's third seed, should set them up pretty nicely for a good run into Game Changers Valorant.
Yeah.
Sandy, do you remember what the new formatting is for Game Changers Champions? I know they reduced teams, but I don't know. Is it one team from NA now, or is it still 2 teams from NA now? Do you know?
I don't know.
I mean, it's not a big deal,
Let's
but
look it up.
My point is, either way, if one of you wants to look it up while I'm talking, is that the fact that they made grand finals both times should pretty much cement them as a top 3 team. I know it's probably bare minimum only top 2 go to champions. Hopefully it's not 1. I would love to see it be 2. But that tells me that this team, who's just been put together and are still practicing and kind of gelling and whatnot, if they're consistently finishing top 3, like by the time Champions is rolling around and you get through Series 1, Series 2, and I think Series 3, they should be good to go. I really have a lot of faith in these girls to make it all the way, and hopefully they're not having to fight Shopify for that last spot, because Shopify is just insanely good. I will be very curious to see how well they can keep up their form throughout the rest of the year.
Right. It will be 2 teams from North America. So
Okay,
it'll be
cool.
the winner of Series 3's main event.
And then
But
points, I
then,
assume.
and then the second place would be circuit points. So then
Okay.
I also presume that if you win Series 3 and have the most circuit points, it would go to the second place circuit points team heading to Game Changers, which I believe is basically what it was last year as well.
Okay,
I
cool.
don't think that is a change. If you're thinking of a change, you might be thinking of the ESL Impact series, which is
Oh,
reducing down to.
I totally was. But
Yeah.
if you want to use this as a transition
Well,
point to
that's
go
a
to Fly Red CS team,
perfect segue for me here. FlyQuest Red CS:GO. Time to discuss them a little bit. Curly, I know you've been a little excited to talk about them. Uh, do you have a report for us on what's going on? I know that still going on with ESEA Advanced, and I do have a standings update for you, as well as they are playing right now. So we will be rating the stream post show. But do you have some updates for us?
So the biggest thing that I know about this squad, right, is that Bibion is cracked. Like she has one of the highest ratings of any of the I forget what the CS:GO version of Game Changers is called, but she has, I think, one of, if not the like highest stat ratings for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's I think it's on a scale from 1 to 2, and I think she was like 1.81, which is crazy high for like how tight the spot is, you know. And so between that, and then I've also seen, I think Goose Breeder to me seems kind of like a vocal leader of the squad, and so she has really good leadership over all that. So they, much like the Valorant squad to me, are like very resilient. I don't think there's been any like big losses. Like when they do take L's, I think they do keep it really close. So just as exciting to watch CS as it is to watch Valorant,
Mm-hmm.
which is something I never thought I would say about the game.
Right.
But you know, when you put red in front of it, I will say that every day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, looking at so ESL Impact. So right now, what's going on? FlyQuest Red, so good they do not have to qualify for season 5 of ESL Impact. They are already in it for the NA side. They are awaiting 4 challengers along with Team Shimmer, Tsunami Sirens, and Team Karma. So that also starts March 6th. So that March 6th time frame, hell of a lot of FlyQuest Red action going on.
March going to be busy, bro.
March 6th through April 20th will be the Season 5 North American League season. And then top 2 will go on to season finals once they get to their playoffs and whatnot. There are cash cups that are regularly going on. I know FlyQuest Red just won the most recent one last week. There is another one coming up on February 24th. So I feel confident that they're probably going to be in that one. So be sure to stay on the lookout for that. In terms of ESEA Advanced, it is a bit of a struggle right now for them. Unfortunately, right now they're sitting at 2-5. When all is said and done. Actually, now that I look at the standings, So this might be a spoiler. If we go over to the thing, it does say 3-5 now, which is good. I'm happy to see a win, but when I looked earlier, it was 2-5. So I don't know if it's going to be a spoiler for when we look at the stream later. But they're up to 3-5. They are sitting in 41st place, and I believe it is top 24 will make it to playoffs. I do not know, unfortunately, if being out of top 24 means you fall back down to main. I don't have that information ready to go, unfortunately. Let me see if I can find it. Curly, why do you think, from what you've seen, what's been the difficulty for them so far in ESE Advanced? 3-5, obviously getting a win most recently is great. Why do you feel that? What's your take on the struggles that they've had? Oh, Curly is... Oh, he was frozen for a second there, but now he's back.
Curly? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. All right.
Curly, I think my mic cut out there. That was clearly what the problem was. What's your take on some of the struggles that the CS team has had in Season 48 Advanced?
I was not well set up for this question. I'm going to be honest.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. I think if anything, from what I've been able to watch of CS, because I caught it a little bit last week. I also caught it when we had Parker. They was streaming on FlyQuest's Twitch, and Parker was one of the casters for it. Is sometimes they get a bit antsy. They kind of like go all in real quick and get a bit blitzy. And so I think it's just some of their losses seem to be from them needing to pull back a bit more and assess, like, particularly when they're on the T side, just making sure they are coordinated and not rushing too hard, especially when there's like low vision and a lot of utility on the other side. I think that's some of the weak points I have seen. Where we just get util diffed, but that's
totally
something you can
something to look forward to.
I apologize for the weaker point. Like I said, it was not well set up.
No, it's all good
with my quick tech error.
I am not sure. Yeah, I cannot find the Season 48 relegation structure, unfortunately. Hang on.
I was trying to look for you too, Sandy, and I'm struggling to find it. So
there's no there's no good. I guess any relegation matches are happening March 3rd. Trying to see when that would be though. Oh, teams are being moved between divisions. Okay, hang on. I've got something.
We're in the process of learning.
Move.
Can we find it? No.
For more information on please follow the FAQ. Man, they're like taking me from link to link to link to link.
That sounds like they don't know.
I'm
yet.
impressed with anyone who's
okay.
able to follow CS.
For the current season. Now this is from last this is like from a year ago or like 7 months ago, but I guess it still tracks. For the current season in North America Advanced, teams with less than 4 wins will be moved down at the end of the season. So less than 4. So if they get 1 more, they're fine. So we need them to get 1 more series win or 1 more match win in order to stay alive. That's what it seems to be.
Okay.
Based off of this. So
1 more match win should be good.
I feel like 1 more match win should be doable. All right.
You got this.
So that is what you have to look forward to. Earlier, I was also trying to. The Faceit website was not really being very helpful for me because I was trying to look up the upcoming matches, and I could not find um, when it was. Okay, FlyQuest Red plays on Valentine's Day. Looks like it's at. It says 2100, although I don't know what time that actually is. If that's Eastern time, I'm going to assume it is, just for the sake of sanity. So they play on the 14th, and then they also play this week on the 15th, also at 9 o'clock. So both the 14th and the 15th, they've got matches. So win either of those, and we should be Gucci on staying in advanced for season 49. So that would be very, very good. All right, now that we've made our way through that section of the show, final thing of the night, got to promote the FGC scene.
Fedoran and J-Mook are both playing, if I remember correctly, in
Yes.
Genesis.
They've got
which is
Genesis
a huge match.
this weekend.
we got
Genesis
2 things
10.
this weekend.
Genesis 10, super exciting. Genesis is always good, always a blast. One of the biggest Smash tournaments around. All the big names are going to be there. Zane, Mango, Hungrybox, AMSA, Leffen, Tweak, all of them are going to be there. It's going to be great. There's Ultimate, there's Melee Doubles, which I'm sure J-Mook is going to be in as well. So that's going to be huge, so do be sure to tune into that. That's going to be 16th through 18th, so Friday through Sunday. So be sure to tune in for an inevitable J-Mook Kadoran Grand Finals, and I won't tell you who wins. And then the other side of the coin, over in Street Fighter, Punk is in the Capcom Cup Pro Tour Last Chance Qualifier. That is this weekend. He wins that. He makes it through. I don't know if he has to win or if he just has to like get in a certain position on it in the thing. But then after that, the 21st through the 25th is the Capcom Cup, like grand finals, everything. So
My sources are telling me we're pretty sure he has to win this.
Yes. Yeah. So that'll be huge. So be sure to tune in for that as well to see Punk take on some of the best Street Fighter players in the world as he tries to make his way into Capcom Cup X. That starts February 16th as well. Looks like they have not said what time pools are going to start, but all times will be in Pacific Standard Time as it is taking place. Also in California this weekend. So that'll be super duper exciting. All right, well, we've made it through all of the FlyQuest news for the week. So much going on. We didn't even touch on the whole Metamorphosis thing that kind of came out.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
let's devote like 5 minutes to what the hell is Metamorphosis. Curly, you are the creative one amongst us. I want to get your thoughts.
Yes, you are the creative.
Yes, you are. You can't get away from it. Talk to us a little bit about Metamorphosis and your thoughts on it and what it means for you.
So the big thing that I got from what I saw from the announcement, both like the quick hype up, but then also the 5-minute video with Mark Rubino, and I am blanking here, and I'm mad at my set. But the content director over at FlyQuest is that this is essentially, it's like a collective. It's kind of like a boiling, like a little laboratory where you connect. In this case, we have the inaugural class of Basil, Fiona Nova, and Tsunami. So we got film, music, and streaming. So like having that all interconnected in just one space where you are all working together and you can all like it makes it easier to collaborate because you're all part of the same thing. And it's really something that in the future will probably be great for propping up um, creatives from all different fields, especially with the fact that, hypothetically, with this, say, Tsunami drops something and it's probably very easy for her to share that with Fiona to use for her projects and with Basil to just play on stream and all that stuff. And it's you can intermingle
Right.
everything together.
Yeah.
And then, if Fiona wants to film something, now she has Basil, who's already shown like that she's great at being on camera and has a natural like talent there. It's just like, all right, you know she can be part of that film or something. um and so it's just a really nice, unique, creative thing. And I think also the like aesthetics around it are just really cool.
Yeah.
I'm really liking this era of FlyQuest when it comes to the creative designs and kind of like retro but futuristic 90s vibes. But yeah, I think it's something that long term is going to be very good, because it's going to provide a very healthy um, platform for creatives, and just a great place for them to grow.
Totally. Uh, Knox, how about you? Your thoughts on Metamorphosis? I was at first, I was like, is this an org name change? Is this like like a total rebrand? Which would have been like absolutely wild to see. Uh,
Yeah.
in the middle of the year.
Um, yeah, I initially thought it was going to be a rebrand. And so when it came out with this, I think it's cool, right? Because I've seen people either in our Discord, FlagWest Discord, general, just various like channels, esports channels in general, where it's just kind of like FlyQuest was known, like again back during like the Trisha era, right, of just being this like wholesome, like nature focused org, and for the most part, it's still nature focused, right? Like all their merch is still 100% recyclable and whatnot, and there's still like a kind of nature theme. I mean, like the logo is literally a leaf, right?
Right.
Um, but I would say after Trisha left, that kind of vibe disappeared and left, and so I think this is going to be kind of the new general direction that FlyQuest is heading into. It won't be so much nature based, except it'll be more artistic based. It'll be music, physical art, digital art, you name it, right? And so I think the direction is cool and interesting. I will be curious to see how Fly does in incorporating it to their brand image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that's not like something you can usually quantitatively count and check. It's kind of a feeling. It's a vibe. It's a vibe check, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm curious about is how well Metamorphosis does. Because here's the other thing: is it's a whole separate brand account. It's like at Metamorphosis on Twitter and other social media names, and like it's associated with FlyQuest, right? But it's not FlyQuest itself. So I don't know how well it's going to work, and I don't even know if that's necessarily the intention. But like that's kind of what it feels like. That's the idea that I'm getting from it. Is it's kind
Mm.
of their new energy that FlyQuest is wanting to promote, which is a cool thing. I just don't know how successful it's going to be while it's under a separate brand name that's only associated with FlyQuest.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I recall when 100 Thieves was really doing a ton and making a lot of content. The big thing I think for them was that it stayed under the 100 Thieves brand. Like you were a 100 Thieves
Right.
content creator. And at the time, they brought in so many people under that banner, and you know, eventually was it too much too fast? Probably. But it was a recognizable brand name. Um, so I'll be interested to see, how they brand Metamorphosis if they like heavily link it to FlyQuest. Um, or if they, try to diversify and really make it its own thing. Because I think on its own, could those people with their brands do a lot for, say, Metamorphosis on its own? For sure. But I don't know how many, like, lay people are going to look at Metamorphosis and think, oh, yeah, that's linked to FlyQuest. Okay, yeah,
Right.
cool. The people that I like are linked to FlyQuest. No, they're just gonna. I'm worried that they're still gonna see the people that they like and just be like, okay, they're cool. They're just with this like content creation group, kind of like an offline TV or I know there's a couple other content groups out there right now. So that would be my only concern, is if it's not closely linked with FlyQuest, that it doesn't end up doing very much for the org down the road. Curly, any response to those concerns?
Yeah, I don't think, personally, from the way I saw them talk about it in the video, and then also just what I see from the Metamorphosis brand, is I don't think it's something that's going to be disconnected from FlyQuest. You're going to see it like this is a FlyQuest project. They will let you know that every time you're in it. Like, especially if you actually look at the post they made earlier today with Basil in it, is like, if you look at that, that's a, first off, I just realized she's wearing a very unique jersey that I think is exclusive to the Metamorphosis members, that, or we're getting an announcement later if we can buy it ourselves. But I don't think we could. Could be wrong, though. Because if you look at it, it's got like the Metamorphosis on the front with FlyQuest. It's got that hollow logo on it. And once again, it's still got Basil style. So it's like, you are going to know that this is FlyQuest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's, this is a case where, and I'm very proud of the org for doing this, is this is not something they are doing to benefit themselves. They are doing it for the benefit of the creative community. They want to be able to provide a space for them to grow something good for them. And in turn, that will loop back to them, where they will naturally, as a result, be able to benefit from it. So I don't think they're concerned about their own benefit, at least for the time being. I think they want to see how much they can provide back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think there's much to be concerned about with Metamorphosis in terms of, brand linking. I think the only thing is like, all right, over time, will it be well received by the creative community? Because, right off the bat, it's kind of like relatively low in followage. It's still under 1,000, but like, as we see more projects drop from it, as we're able to see what, this, like what this initiative creates, I'm hoping that it'll provide a natural eye for the more creative talents to then start looking at FlyQuest, because like I said, you are going to be able to tell it's a FlyQuest initiative. So
yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, well, that I believe is all we've got time for. We've exhausted the gamut of topics for the evening, so we're gonna call it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another episode of Flight Check. They just keep on coming, don't they? It's crazy like that. No LCS this weekend. NACL marches on. FlyQuest Fighters at Genesis and Capcom Last Chance qualifiers starting February 16th. Be sure to tune into those. And then also, we've got ESEA Advanced for FlyQuest CSGO team on both tonight. They're streaming now. We will be rating right after this. But then also the 14th and 15th, they've got matchups. So be sure to tune into those. We'll be there in the chat for sure. So do not miss any of that. And don't miss our thoughts on everything. And you can see that on Twitter. For all of our instant reactions and thoughts, you can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Nox at NoxWar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Do make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place in there. And if you missed any part of this episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. If you are watching that and would like to catch the show live, we do broadcast the show usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Nox, any final notes before we wrap up?
I just want to give a big shout out to the org, especially Numi. She's a big reason why, Sandy, you and I both have this, and Curly, hopefully soon yours will arrive and get here. But
Ohio Diff.
Yeah, Ohio Diff. But no, thank you, Numi. Thank you, FlyQuest. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate the love and support for a silly little podcast that we started long ago during COVID times, and we're still doing it after all this time. So it's always appreciated. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's Nox's shout out. For sure. Curly, how about you? Any final notes, shout outs, plugs before we wrap up?
Notes is I'm very excited with how busy FlyQuest has been this entire start of this year. And I have an itching feeling that for the entirety of this season of Flight Check, we are going to miss something every week, which
Oh, yeah.
I personally feel is a great problem to have.
I
Because
completely
I think
agree.
back to when we started and all we had to talk about was Academy and LCS, and now
Yeah.
we've got a lot.
We've got a lot more.
Going on. So it's a great time to be a Fly fan. And then in terms of shout outs, shout out to Leo Chanel for blocking the low kick for the extra point attempt and getting us into overtime yesterday, so that the Swifties and the Chiefs fan can get the Super Bowl win. You know,
Oof.
love that.
Yikes. Alrighty. For myself, honestly, big shout out is going to go to Jmook and Kadoran, particularly to Kadoran. I don't know if this will be his last tournament ever. But if you missed the announcement a couple weeks ago, he's transitioning out of regular tournament play to move to more of like a tournament organizer. So please be sure to give him a lot of support this weekend at Genesis. Probably one of his last big tournaments for a while. So that is where my shout out is going. Give him all your support and love, and Jmook as well. And hopefully they meet in grand finals and it's a tie, and no, they just decide to become co-champions, because that'll be the best. All right, we'll be back next week discussing Genesis X, FlyQuest Challengers, FlyQuest CSGO, and whatever else comes up this week. So for now, stay safe out there. Don't forget to hit the head on the nail, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.
My father told me